My name is Jhin. So today I'm going to talk about what's new in Flutter and Dart during the Google I/O. So my name is Jhin. So I'm GDG and Flutter Montreal organizer and full stack developer at Unity. So you can see my photo that I took with some kind of celebrities for Flutter stuff. And here, Flutter Montreal, I think the Lawrence already introduced. But I'm organizing Flutter Montreal with Ali over there. So we are working on it together. So if anyone wants to join our community, you can scan this Discord channel, come on in, or talk to us, Ali or me. So what is Flutter? So anyone know Flutter here? Anyone did some coding for Flutter? Some code in Flutter. Okay, so actually there's a few people already did it. All right. So Flutter is open source framework by Google that building for native application that you can build for many different platforms, iOS, Android, Windows, Linux, and even web. And actually there's more. So one code base, you can build many different platforms for same application. So now let's start what's actually new in the Flutter. So I don't know if you guys see this I/O Flip game that Google introduced for the Google I/O 23. So anyone tried already? No? You tried? Okay, so this application is quite cool because actually they use AI to create this game. This one is PvP style game. So actually you can play with your friend or whoever. I mean, it's randomly matchmaking so that you can do a card game. And what they use AI here, this all the graphic and then the description is all generated by AI. So they didn't do any content pushing and anything. They actually used AI to make the game for all the set. And the game itself is made in Flutter. So it's running on the web, and then this application is written in Flutter. And then they also have backend written in Dart language, which is the same language that you write for the Flutter. So full stack is written in Dart for this application. If you want to play the game, there's a link over there. But you can just Google search I/O Flip, and you're going to find it. And this one is also open source, so you can even dig into the source code that you can find out if you want. So what's actually new in Flutter is the Flutter 3.10. So I find that there's three different important announcements. One is Material 3, and the web, and then Impeller. So I'm going to talk about it one by one. So Material 3, I think everyone knows about Material 3. This one design system introduced by Google. So Material Design 2 has been there for a long time, and then they introduced Material 3, and then there's kind of a period that Material 3 library wasn't actually available. But now actually in Flutter, Material 3, every component is implemented in Flutter. So you can just use it in your application. I personally really like Material 3 because it's really easier to develop. You don't need to think, the theming is really easy. I don't know if you ever do the theming with Material 2, but there's so many different variables you need to define, the color palette and everything. But Material 3 even generate your color palette automatically. So I'm going to show you the demo. So this is the Flutter application to demo the Material 3. So this one is also open source. Later, if you want to see the source code, you can go there and then see it. So let's open it. So this one is the Flutter application written for web. So the Material 3 component is listed over there. And like I say, you can see any color. Then he automatically generates the color palette and apply to every component. And you can also see the images, so that if you give the image, it's the same thing. He creates the color palette based on image you see it to the Material 3 library. And then you can compare with the Material 2, how it looks like. 2 was like that, 3 is like that, little round or scale round, I don't know, whatever you say. And then the Material 3, and then you can also see the difference between the dark theme and light theme. The benefit of using the color seed is that he automatically creates for the light and dark theme. color palette. So you don't need to worry about that for the decision of your color. And later, maybe today is too much, but there's also a way to put your custom color. And then he also create color palette based on the color palette. I mean, the custom color, you see it as well. So you can even mix with your own design system and Material 3 altogether. So next one is about web. So what's big deal with the web for Flutter is that Flutter is basically a single page application. So you have to load every library to render your UI and so on. But the resource size, the library size was a little too big before. So they reduced like the icon font size or canvas kit, which is for drawing the UI, is reduced so that they improve the loading time for the Flutter web. And next one is the element embedding feature. So this one I also have demo. Maybe I will show you the demo first, actually. So this one, like you see, this one is actually Angular web page. And then in the middle, this part is the Flutter. So let me open the Angular web menu on the left. So here's the counter. I click the Flutter app +1. And then I don't know if you noticed, but on the left, this one is Angular app JavaScript. It's increasing together, meaning that Flutter app and Angular app is communicating together even. So you can put even like, shadow effect to the Flutter app, or you can mirror. You can resize it. Just a moment. And then you can put some like animation. How cool is it? And then you can also make, change. I mean, you basically send a command to the Flutter app. You can do something different, and while doing the animation, everything is like in real time.
Is it working at the same time as Flutter module for iOS and Android, or it's a different way to make the?
So this one is for the Flutter web,
Okay.
but Flutter application. Once you write this application, you can embed in the web, or you can make this application itself as the web page, if you want. Or you can use this one for the Android or iOS or Linux or Windows, every platform you want. No problem. All right, so next one. So next one is shader support. So now you can make some kind of fancy animation or UI using the shader in the web Flutter application. So I also have demo. So what you can do with the Flutter web is making this kind of thing. They use a shader to put the effect or animation stuff, and then you see there's a little effect on the text, and then the button, they're using the shader to make this kind of amazing UI. And then next one is the WebAssembly. It's coming to the Flutter web. I mentioned about the loading speed, but basically how Flutter web is working is that Dart language is going to be compiled to the JavaScript, and then it running on the browser using the JavaScript engine. So that makes it also Flutter application a little sluggish, or this one gives a little different the experience than the native application on the Android or iOS. So with WebAssembly, you can compile Flutter app application into the WASM, WebAssembly, and then you can make it actually native application in the browser. And then the package size is going to be much smaller than before as well. So we are really waiting for this to bring really native the experience in the web page. So next one is Impeller. So I don't know if you guys heard about it, but Impeller is the rendering engine for the Flutter. So currently what we are using is Skia, they call it. And Skia is a really general purpose. So it's not optimized for the Flutter. So if you want to do like heavy animation application and so on, maybe it doesn't give you really great performance. So Google is working on the Impeller engine. And then this one is actually giving you really nice performance. And this one is now default for the iOS app with the Flutter 3.10. So you can already build iOS app with heavy animation application, then it's going to be running super great. So this one, same thing. I'm going to show you the demo. Oops, there's the advertisement.
Then before
No, actually I have it, but this one is anonymous mode. So that's why. All right. On the left, you see there. This one is Skia. On the right is impeller. So I don't know if you noticed that the impeller is much more smoother. Maybe in the screen, maybe it's not really obvious, but you can see the number over there. So this one, you see, there's a 9 FPS on the left one, Skia. On the right, it's a stable 60 FPS. So even you put heavy animation, impeller can handle it now. All right. So next one is about Dart language. So myself, actually, Dart was bigger announcement than Flutter because they improved the language itself for this version. So now they have 100% null safety language, meaning that if previously in Dart language, everyone was critic about, this one is null and then it may crash and so on. So they made it null safety language. And then there's grace period to, we support both of them. You can still use null language and the null safety language. And then now they are making, strict. They are kicking out everything not null. So everything has to be null safety, the version. And they introduce also different language feature like record, pattern, or class modifiers. Actually, I'm going to show you the example later. So let's talk about later. And then the other one is native interrupt. So they are putting a lot of effort to make it easy to communicate between platform and then the Dart language. So let's say you are making the Android application, and then you want to use like hardware-oriented feature or whatever. Then you need to make the channel between communicate with Android and then Dart application, right? If no one already made it, right? So what they do is basically they providing some code generation feature called Jhin or Fgen over there. So they're gonna automatically create the interface between the different language, and then you just need to write Kotlin language code and the Dart code, and then you don't need to think about how to connect each other. That's what they are doing. It's already available, and then they are really working hard to make it easy, because I don't know if you know, but the Flutter is really community oriented, but this is a pain point. So if you want to provide library in the community, I want to make my library working for every platform, iOS, Windows, Linux, and everything. But because this part, that was actually really difficult, but now with this, it's going to be much easier. And the other announcement was WebAssembly. So this one is also work in progress, actually. So I mentioned earlier a little bit during the Flutter. So Dart team is collaborating with the different Wasm teams to deliver new feature called Wasm GC. So what's problem is that because Wasm doesn't support GC languages, garbage collection the languages, so those kind of languages was not able to run. If it's compiled in the Wasm, it wasn't able to run on the browser. So now Chromium and Firefox, they already implemented this feature. It's near stable. So we are expecting that to be released very soon. I don't know when it's soon, but that's the thing. And then once this feature is introduced, we're going to be able to compile a Flutter app in Wasm and then run into the browser directly. And for Android developer, Kotlin developer is going to also benefit from this. So you compile Kotlin code in Wasm and then running in the browser. Same thing for the Flutter. So I'm going to show you a little example of the language, the improvement. So first one is the record. So you see here, the get user function is returning one value. So I had to access user first name and so on to print out. So with record feature, now we can return multiple value from the function, like Python or Golang or the other kind of languages. So this is making code a little cleaner, so on. And then what you can do as well is that you can swap. So for example, without record, if you want to swap the value A and B, you may need to create temporary variable and then you copy and then move it, right? With record, you can do this. Maybe familiar with some Python developers, probably. And the other one is object destructuring. So let's say I want to iterate through the user array, has multiple user instance, and then I want to access the first name and last name directly, like here, first and last. So I'm destructuring the member variable of user class, like that. If I do this, first name is going to be assigned to the first, last name is going to be assigned to the last, and then I can directly access inside the for loop. So it makes it code much cleaner, I'll say. And next one is about class modifier. So in Dart, there was no interface before. So we've been using abstract to make interface. Technically, abstract interface, there's no big difference, but we know we want to use it differently, right? So people keep asking to Dart team, and now they introduce many more class modifiers. There's base, final, sealed, mixing, and so on. So I'm not going to explain everything, but I'm going to show you some demo for the sealed class. So later, if you want to see more detail, actually, I put the link. So when you share the slide, you can go on and then see the detail. So sealed class example. So basically, what sealed class does is making classes as enum. So let's say header block is extending block, paragraph block is extend block, and the same thing for the checkbox. And the block is actually sealed class, meaning that they are all same, the family, right? So I added the factory, the constructor in the block. What I do is that I'm taking the JSON, and then when the JSON type is H1, then I initiate header block. When the type is P, I initiate the paragraph block and the checkbox block. So I don't know if you noticed, but here is the pattern matching basically. So I am using I'm reading the pattern matching on the JSON, and then depending on that, I can decide in the switch whatever I want to have. So how I use it. So let's say now I initiated the block instance. And here, you see block instance can be header block, can be paragraph block, or checkbox, right? So this one is the same thing. So this one is also kind of pattern matching. So when block instance is header block, then I'm going to render text component with this display medium style. And then when the block is paragraph, then I'm going to render text with the default theme, and then same for the checkbox. So this is benefit of using the sealed class, and then basically it's kind of enum, right? So you have block, and then you're just matching the type, and then whatever you want. So before that, it was kind of tricky, but now it's really, you can make really clean code with it, with this syntax. So actually, that's about it for today. But if you want to learn more, I also added some the nice code lab provided by Google. So if you want to learn more about the Dart syntax, the new language improvement, I really recommend this one. So dive into Dart pattern and record. This one is covering the sealed class and then pattern matching and the record. Really nice example, really nice code lab, I find it. And then this one is demo that I show you. So they also have code lab. So you just follow the code lab, and then you can make this demo application. And another bonus is that every content announced during the Google I/O 23rd for Flutter, I added all the links. So when you share this slide, you can just go there, click one by one, and then you can see everything there. That's about it. Thank you very much.